After e4, c5, and d4, the Smith-Morra is on the board, and then after taking the pawn, then pawn to c3, we have to take the pawn. And in this video, there's going to be something that is like a Danish Gambit, which is bishop to c4 now. So white gives up another pawn, so we have to take it, and then bishop takes, and white is down 2 pawns, but for an excellent development. The 2 bishops are developed, the queen is on an open file, the white king will castle is in only 2 moves, this rook is ready to come to an open file. So this is a very attacking opening, but at the cost of 2 pawns. The black player will just have to play accurately and get out of this opening successfully. Once that happens, then black can go on to win the endgame. So the move now is e6. This is crucial. It's important to make this bishop weaker. Also, let's remember not to develop this bishop before developing the knight, because this bishop is attacking g7. So after knight to f3, main move, d6, black will have to play very solid. Just all we need to do is just get out of the opening without losing. White castles, and then black plays knight to c6. Let's quickly go through knight to d2 first of all, and then we'll go through knight c3 first. So knight to d2, the idea could be that the white player doesn't want to stay on the way of the bishop. But after knight f6, and then there's really nothing. The black player will play bishop e7 and castle, and then white's attack is over, right? You're just going to play the game with 2 more pawns. So let's play the best moves like rook to c1, rook in an open file, bishop to e7, simple as that. And now rook to e1, the attack of the white player just vanished because the black player didn't do any mistake. We will look at other variation throughout this video. Black can castle, he's 100% safe now. And let's look at this option, and then we're going to finish with this line. We're going to go through the line with knight c3. So bishop to b5 now, which is a move I've encountered. The black can play pawn to e5. Black is already out of any possible trouble. We can even give up the pawn, because bishop takes, pawn takes, rook to c6 is just met by bishop to d7 attacking the rook. And when the rook moves away, let's say rook to c1, back to c1, bishop to e6 targeting the pawn, black will finish the game with the bishop pair. Now you may argue that white didn't have to give up the bishop pair, he didn't have to play bishop b5 and bishop takes c6, but the thing is that we could have ended the line already because there was nothing for white. We survived the opening successfully. After a3, defending the pawn and queen b6, black is just winning, absolutely winning. So let's start again from the beginning, and this time we'll go through the main idea. So after take, and then bishop c4, we take the pawn, bishop takes, and now e6, it's important. Knight f3, and then d6, as solid as we can. Castle, knight to c6, and now the main move, which is knight to c3. Black continues with knight to f6. So at this point, black is already just better. The only thing about this opening is that it's kind of scary, and I'd be lying if I were to say that it never gave me any trouble, because I've lost many games to this. The problem was that I used to try and capitalize already, but actually you just have to play solid and survive the opening, because this could crush you if you're not careful. 2 moves we're going to look at, which is queen e2 or e5. A move like e5 is interesting, because the idea is to try and dismantle the black king territory, but that's not a problem, we accept it. Queen takes back, and we take back with the king, so we can keep safeguarding this pawn, and black is going to a winning endgame. He's just got more pawns, right? So after rook a to d1 check, black can develop a king to d7, there was a bishop to d7, there was nothing there, and after rook, going for the pawn so that white can recapture the pawn and try to reduce the material disadvantage. Black plays bishop to b4. We're pinning this knight, and so white cannot take this pawn. So for example, if white takes, then knight takes, rook takes, and now rook to c8 wins, because we're skewering the bishop and the knight. When the bishop moves, we'll have 2 pieces attacking the knight, and this is impossible to defend. The rook can't go to c5, and in e4 there's a knight, and after rook to d4, black continues with rook to c5. It looks like the white player will be able to just swap everything and be fine with that, because think about it, after a swap, black will no longer have the skewer available, But what's going to happen? The rook can't give any more defense because of the knight. And so if the rook goes away, for example, then black can play e5. This pawn is protected by the rook. And so after the rook moves, e4 is not accessible. This pawn, the pawn is attacking f4, so g4 is attacking by the knight. And after the rook goes to h4, only square, then g5 will allow the black player to win material. If instead white had accepted the swap after rook c5 takes, now there's an attack on the rook, but it looks like the white player will be fine. Except simplifying is fine for us. We're attacking the rook, and after the rook moves, then black's best move is king e7. Development would be over next move. And white didn't manage to crush the black player with this trap, with this opening gambit. So let's go back. After e4, c5, and then d4, we take the pawn. c3, we take the pawn. Bishop c4, we take the pawn. Bishop develops, and now e6. Knight f3, d6, just playing solid. Castle, knight c6. Knight c3, knight f6. Earlier we went through e5, which can be taken. Let's go through now the move queen e2, continuing development, idea of placing rook on the same file of the opponent queen, of our queen. Black continues with a6. And after rook f to d1, this is one of those situations where probably a lot of players will feel like in a lot of stress, because white is so amazingly placed. Look at the development of white player, it's beautiful. But there's nothing to worry. Black simply plays bishop to d7. And now there's nothing for white. The most aggressive move, this idea, is the one that they might go for, which is threatening the pawn in d6, trying to open the lines, especially because the black king is uncastled. But then simply knight takes, and after knight takes and pawn takes and queen takes, again, one might feel under a lot of stress here, but there's nothing. So in this position, rook goes to c8, attacking the bishop, and a move like knight to d5, which I encountered myself, is nothing to worry about, even though it looks like white has a plan, but no, this is just a free bishop. So after bishop going to b3, safeguarding the pieces and not swapping is key for the white player who has gambited 2 pawns. Otherwise, then we're simplifying, which is what we want. After bishop b3, black's best move is queen c7, looking for a swap, and if we get to swap, we're completely winning the endgame. If not, if white plays, let's say for instance, queen to e3, this loses, like in a way that knight g4 threatens this, so it will, white is forced to swap by retreating the queen somewhere. If the queen just goes away, it looks like the queen's got plenty of squares, but we can just keep attacking it. Queen to g5, we can keep attacking it until the queen is forced somewhere near the king side, or forced away. In that case, we are breathing and we'll be able to castle and everything. After queen to d4, for instance, this also doesn't work because of bishop to c6, and black will be able to play bishop to e7 and then castle. Rook a to c1 is not a problem. Bishop e7, simple as that. There is no threat like after knight moves, like pressure built on this file is not a problem. Black castles and is just winning.